Once upon a time, in the heart of Nkwagu village, there lived a young widow named Adaure, who recently lost her husband. She was left with her son Chimaobi to cater for. Adur was a beautiful young woman, loved and admired by all for her strength and her ability to smile through all her pains in life. She did enjoy her marriage, as her husband died 3 years after their marriage, leaving her alone with Chimaobi. Adure's parents supported her and her decision not to marry again, as she married at a very young age and didn't enjoy her marriage before her husband died. Adur worked tirelessly to meet end means and to provide for her son. Everyone in the village had expected her to remarry, but she refused. Chimaobi was her mother's companion and best friend. They were inseparable. Even when her parents suggested that Adur should leave her son Chimaobi for them to take care of and train him so she could move on with her life, Adur refused. She poured all her love on Chimaobi. She vowed to do all in her power to keep him safe and to provide all his needs. She only felt Chimaobi was safe whenever he was with Ifechi and her parents. Ifechi was the daughter of one of Adure's workers who worked in her oil mill. Ifechi was the only daughter of her parents. They often brought her to Adure's oil mill to play with Chimaobi, while her mother worked in Adure's garden. Chimaobi had always loved Ifechi as the younger sister he never had. He always looked out for her whenever he could. After years of struggle and sleepless nights, Adur became wealthy. She was the first woman to acquire plots of land and a successful palm oil mill business with customers far and wide in her community. She provided food, shelter to the homeless and less privileged as her own way of giving back to her community. Chimaobi was growing into a handsome young man, and every young lady in the village had an interest in him. Adur always encouraged her son to treat women with respect and love, and at the same time to be careful with them, to avoid his life being ruined by the bad ones. Although Chimaobi didn't have a father figure present in his life while growing up, he had all her mother's love and care. As time passed and Chimaobi started having relationships with young women, Adur felt scared and left out. Her greatest and worst nightmares are right in front of her. All the maidens that Chimaobi brought home, Adur found fault and gave him numerous reasons not to have anything to do with them. She was overprotective of him, which sometimes scares him. He wasn't courageous enough to challenge some of her mother's decisions while growing up, and he is living with the consequences. Adur rejected all the young women Chimaobi brought home for marriage. Chimaobi wasn't happy with his mother's decision towards his life and trusting him to choose a life partner. Adur noticed Chimaobi was not happy the way he used to be, and he avoided her most time. She feared her decisions towards him had created a big distance between them. The joyous home she had with her son is now as quiet as she can hear the sound of her heartbeat. She knew she had to act fast to avoid losing her son completely. One evening, Adur called Chimaobi and apologized to him. She promised to consider his feelings and allow him to make decisions about his life partner by himself. Chimaobi felt happy that her mother, who is a strong and resilient woman, apologized to him with tears. Moved by her mother's apology, he told her mother to choose a wife for him. If he liked the person she chose, he will marry her. Adur saw what Chimaobi told her as an opportunity to take matters into her own hands by putting her feelings first before her son's feelings. Adaure thought about a maiden who she can control, who is calm and from a humble home. She wants someone who won't come between her and her love for Chimaobi. After a few weeks of searching for a maiden with those qualities, she couldn't find any. She decided she would go to a neighboring village to ask around. In the morning, as she was getting ready to embark on her journey, she saw Chimaobi discussing and laughing happily with Ifechi. She thought to herself what she was looking for elsewhere had been staring her in the eyes all this while. Later that day, she told Chimaobi she had found a wife for him, and that was Ifechi. But Mama, Ifechi is like a sister to me. Chimaobi, Ifechi will make a good wife for you. She is from a good home, and you two have been friends all these years. You will learn to love her as your wife and not as a sister. I love Ifechi not as a wife but as a younger sister and friend. But if you insist, Mama, no problem, I will learn. Adur and Chimaobi met with Ifechi's parents. They did all that needed to be done, and finally, Ifechi became Chimaobi's wife. When Ifechi got home with Chimaobi and Adur, Adur told her to keep her things in her room as they would be sharing the same room until she completes a spiritual cleansing on her. Ifechi asked her husband if the cleansing was necessary. Chimaobi told her to be patient as he didn't want her to start having issues with her mother on her first day of marriage. Ifechi accepted and started sleeping with Adur. Most nights, Adur would sleep and snore all through the night till the next morning. Ifechi kept wondering when she would start the spiritual cleansing on her. A few weeks later, Ifechi told her husband that she would like to move in with him. Since her mother had refused to do the spiritual cleansing she wanted to perform on her since they got married. Chimaobi told Adur that Ifechi wants to move in with him. Adur flared up at Ifechi for wanting to cause problems between her and her son, and for insinuating that she is not performing any cleansing on her. She told her she must stay with her until she is sure she is clean enough spiritually not to ruin her son's life. From that day, Adur became a thorn on Ifechi's flesh. Whatever she does irritates Adur, and her husband can't even stand up for her or support her. Ifechi became worried about her future with Chimaobi and Adur. She was sad and lonely with nobody to discuss what she was going through in her marriage. She told Chimaobi that she is a woman with feelings and emotion. She reminded him how happy they used to be as friends, and now they are together. They barely look at each other due to Adur, who is constantly in the way of their marriage and also the architect of their marriage. Chimaobi told her to be patient with her mother and tolerate all she is doing, that very soon they will be in each other's arms. Ifechi was furious at Chimaobi. She asked him why can't he defend her in front of her mother. Chimaobi told her that Adure's reasons are valid and he can't let anyone come between him and his mother. Chimaobi, I am not anyone. I am your wife, Ifechi said with tears in her eyes. Chimaobi, seeing Ifechi in tears, it broke him, but he can't challenge his mother's decision. not even for Ifechi. Since Chimaobi can't save her from Adaure, Ifechi decided to take matters into her own hands. Every night when Adaure is fast asleep, Ifechi will sneak into Chimaobi's room and spend quality time with him. Chimaobi was resistant at first, out of fear for his mother, but when Ifechi became more persistent, he had no choice but to give in to her feelings and emotions. At last, Ifechi found a way to spend time with her husband without her mother-in-law hovering around him like a hawk protecting its eggs. One night, after Ifechi snuck into Chimaobi's room, she heard a hard knock on the door. Immediately, Ifechi knew it was Adaure. She hid under the bed. Adaure was surprised not to see Ifechi in the room. She searched around and still no sign of Ifechi. "Mama, is there any problem?" Chimaobi asked. "I can't find Ifechi. Is she here with you?" Adaure said. "No, Mama. I thought both of you went to bed together after supper." "Yes, we went to bed together, but when I woke up to start the cleansing, I couldn't find her in the room." "Maybe she went to the kitchen for water," Chimaobi said. As Adaure headed to the kitchen, Ifechi snuck back to the room. Adaure knew Ifechi had outsmarted her, but she decided to play along with them and set a trap for Ifechi. A few nights later, Ifechi thought Adaure was asleep. She stood up and headed to Chimaobi's room. As she entered, Adaure tapped her from behind and gave her a big slap. Ifechi fell on the floor. "Mama, what have you done to my wife?" Chimaobi screamed. "Ifechi, please wake up," Chimaobi said, shaking Ifechi's lifeless body. Adaure was terrified seeing the harm she had caused and how she had hurt her son whom she loved so much. She never believed she could be moved to tears seeing Ifechi's lifeless body on the floor. Chimaobi ran to the herbalist, who came as fast as he could. The herbalist did all in her power to revive Ifechi, as Chimaobi and Adaure prayed to God to save Ifechi's life. Chimaobi was angry at her mother and felt disappointed with himself for not standing up for his wife. It was at that point it was dawned on him to send her mother back to her house at the mill to protect his family. A few hours later, the herbalist came out and told them that Ifechi and her baby were stable. "Congratulations, Chimaobi," the herbalist said. Both Chimaobi and Adaure were surprised to hear that Ifechi was with a baby. Adaure, realizing the harm she had caused to her son by not allowing him have peace, went inside and apologized to Ifechi for all the pain she had caused her. She told her how she lost her husband very early into their marriage, which made her to pour all her love and affection towards Chimaobi, and ever since they've been inseparable. She pleaded with her to take good care of her son and her family. Adaure felt bad and ashamed for her behavior towards Ifechi. She feared Ifechi would not allow her close to her son and possibly to her grandchild. She broke down in tears. Ifechi told Adaure she is always welcomed to visit them. She promised to look after Chimaobi and their new baby. Adaure told Chimaobi she will be moving back to her house by the oil mill to monitor the business and find a hobby or possibly someone to channel her energy on. She advised Chimaobi to put his family first and always stand up for his family. "Chimaobi, don't let me or anyone come between you and your wife. Ifechi is a good girl. Take good care of her and show her love. Make her happy and keep her safe," Adaure said as she bid them farewell. Ifechi, though missed by the presence of Adaure in the house, she felt happy that she had her husband's full attention and support. Mothers sometimes get too attached to their children by not allowing them to make decisions for themselves and learn from their mistakes. This story highlights the danger of overprotectiveness of loved ones. The moral of this story is that while a parent's love and guidance are invaluable, it is important to allow children to make their own decisions and learn from their experiences. Being overly controlling or protective can strain relationship and hinder personal growth. Trusting in the values and teachings instilled in them, children can navigate life's challenges and with wisdom and resilience, ultimately finding their path to happiness and fulfillment. If you are watching this story and you're not a subscriber to this channel, kindly show us love by hitting the subscribe button and sharing your thoughts about the story in the comment section. Until next time, bye bye.